Here.
Councilman Pinter,
Here.
Councilman Philpott.
Here.
Councilman Stogdell is in attendance via video only because of a medical issue. Council President Zalome had asked for an excused absence, and I got a call from Mr. Lamb asking for an excused absence as well. So technically, we don't have sufficient votes on hand tonight to do any approval of the bonding ordinance. So we will be modifying the agenda with regard to the
Do we need a motion to excuse Councilman Lamb, Mayor?
I would ask for one.
I'll offer that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, please read the Open Public Meetings Act statement.
Due to the coronavirus pandemic, this meeting has been closed to the public physically and is being live streamed via Zoom. Any comments from the public that are received via email, please beforehand as a Notice of this remote meeting was posted on our website with instructions on how the public can connect to live streaming council.
Thank you. I will read the Zoom disclosure. During the public comments part of the meeting, if you would like to speak, please click the raise hand button and we will be notified of your request to talk. The mayor will recognize you and your microphone will be unmuted to allow you to speak. Once you have completed speaking, your mic will be remuted. For security reasons, we cannot recognize anyone who is listed as anonymous or a phone number that is not identified. When you are recognized and unmuted, you must first state your name and address before saying any comments or asking any questions. Failure to do so may result in you being muted and or disconnected. On computers, the raise hand button can be found in the webinar controls section, typically at the bottom of your screen. If you raise your hand by accident, please feel free to lower your hand. If you're only joining by dialing in, you can simply dial *9 and toggle between raise hand and lower hand. On mobile devices, the raise hand and lower hand buttons are typically found in the lower left corner of the screen. The meeting will also be live streamed on YouTube. There's roughly a 20-second delay in the process. YouTube chat will no longer be used for the public commenting. All right, at this time, I ask for a moment of silence. Actually, three parents of three of our employees passed away from the COVID since our last meeting.
John was on.
Oh, John, okay, just passed away, 2 from COVID. Kristen Rocco from the building department, her father, John Fleming, passed away. Ryan Toko's father, Ryan from the police department, his father, John, passed away. And Susan Kilcheski, our zoning officer's father, also passed away. So in addition to that, I was notified that former Mayor Tom Kelleher from Tom's River, long-serving one, served along with me for 15 years, passed away yesterday or the day before. So I ask that you remember those 4 individuals as well as anyone in your own mind that you will be missing. And I'll ask Councilman Finter to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance after the moment of silence.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Welcome everyone to tonight's meeting, whether you're online or you're obviously not in attendance. Again, we're hoping with the decreases in reported cases and the advent of the vaccine being administered, that we'll soon be able to have live meetings. We all miss it. We appreciated your attendance and we hope to get back to that soon. Looks like a little bit of snow in the borough. DPW did a good job again of keeping the streets clean. We've got 11 pieces of equipment ready to go at all times for that. Hopefully this was the last of the season, but you never know. It is getting to be late February already. St. Patty's Day is in March, right?
Yep.
So we better stop soon. Okay. Consent agenda, I'll read by number, accepting council comments along the way. At the end of the agenda, I will ask for a motion and a second and then take a roll call. Number 76, approving a raffle license to the Lavalette PTO for a 50-50 off-premises raffle on May 7, 2021. Number 77, authorizing and consenting to amending raffle license RL 511 approved by council on December 21st to change the raffle draw date to March 5th, 2021, and changing the ticket price to $10. 78, amending the 2021 temporary budget in the amount of $3,670,000. Mr. Bryce, why are we amending that budget?
Initially, we approve a 26.25% temporary budget. That only gets us so far into the year. This is to cover payroll bills, operating expenses, debt service, as well as pension payments.
But nothing unusual.
Nothing unusual.
What I
All
want to
business.
hear. 79, approving a facilities use application to Kevin Collins to use the ball field to hold baseball practices starting March 1st through November 8th, Mondays and Wednesdays, starting at 4:30 and one weekend in August, September, and October from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for baseball tournaments. I understand that's going to be taken off
Take that off
consent
consent, Mayor, please.
at the request of Councilwoman Philippone. Number 80, approving a facilities use application to Chris Olvison from Barnegat Bay Cruises to utilize our dock on the bay at McGee Avenue to pick up at 7 p.m. and return at 9 p.m. 6 people, whatever nights requested, starting Friday, May 12th through Sunday, September 12th, 2021. That one is also off the consent agenda at the request of Councilman Borowski. Number 81, authorizing the CFO to submit a check to the Champs Mat Systems in the amount of $6,441.39 as a refundable deposit to secure the purchase of a beach mat to go on the President Avenue ADA handicap accessible beach ramp walkover. Number 82, supporting HR 946, Stop the Attack on Local Taxpayers Act. Any comments from council on the items remaining on the consent agenda?
Mayor, I just have a question. On the temporary budget, on the chart, the column labeled amendment number 1, there are various amounts depending on what line you're talking about. Is that the amount that we are currently approving? It's just partial or in some cases full, depending on what we're talking about?
Correct. The left column is what is original. That's part of the 26.25 that we approved at the beginning of the year. What you're
Right.
seeing as amended number 1 is what you would be approving tonight, correct?
That's in addition to what's on the left or
It's in addition, correct?
in addition to what's on?
Yes.
Okay, fine. I just want, I don't have a problem with it. I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Some went up,
Understood.
some went down.
Yeah, someone up, someone up, someone down, but that's okay.
Okay, any other comments on the consent agenda?
Just for clarity, the first column is what temporary budget we approved initially.
Initially,
The second column is what we're adding.
Adding to
correct.
it. No problem.
There are no further comments, and I will accept a motion on the consent
I'll move it.
agenda minus 79 and 80.
So moved.
Second?
And the roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philippone?
Yes,
Councilman Fisher?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Okay, resolutions off consent. We'll take number 79, which is approving the application of Kevin Collins to use the ball field to hold baseball practices. My understanding that would create a conflict with the badge sales which occur at the ball field during those times. Do we want to contact Mr. Collins and ask him if he wants to modify his proposal?
That's what I recommend, Mayor.
Any comments or questions on that?
I don't have a problem with the whole thing except eliminating the dates where there are conflict or the times,
Right.
whichever is,
Yeah, he's a repeat applicant,
Yes.
resident of town. Okay, number 80, approving a facilities use application to Chris Olvison for Barnegat Bay Cruises to utilize our dock on the bay at McGee Avenue for sunset cruises of 6 passengers.
I just have an issue with that as far as putting the town at a liability when people get off the boat and possibly drinking, falling, and then we wind up with a lawsuit.
Well, I appreciate those comments, Dave, and as long as I've been on this council, which is 17 years now,
Getting old,
we've
well.
always objected to further commercialization of our recreational facilities. So I think this clearly qualifies as a commercialization of that, so I would object to it as well. Any other comments from council? Motion to deny that application.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes is to deny.
correct.
I vote yes.
Councilman Chacon?
Yes to deny.
Yes to deny.
That motion is approved. Number 83 is the bills listing amount of $1,209,729.05.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
yes.
Councilman Chacon?
Yes,
Councilman Finger?
Yes.
Motion is approved. The next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2021-02, ordinance of the Borough of Lavallette amending, revising, and supplementing Chapter 7 of the Borough Code entitled Bathing and Beach Control, more specifically Article 7 through 9 entitled Fees for the Use of Beaches and Facilities. At the last meeting, we introduced this ordinance, which is designed to adjust for potentially higher salaries. Mike, can you take it from here and let us know what's going on with that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. What these changes will accomplish is instead of having to set the badge prices by ordinance, which would essentially be a first reading, a second reading, and then 30 days to implement, or essentially 2 months. With the way it's currently set up, that makes it very difficult with analyzing the previous season sales, what changes may need to be made in those badge prices, and getting it set up in time and having enough time to vote and have a conversation on it among the council before the preseason sale. That really doesn't allow for, good conversation. What this does is it lets us set the prices by resolution, therefore eliminating a 2-month process, still have the conversation and that, but it allows us to be able to move a little faster in the process. But it will have no effect on the 2021 season.
So this will allow us to set a range. So we can't just, set any price that we see fit by resolution. It's got to fit within the range that we set
Correct.
by ordinance.
Yes,
And
correct.
we do any employees in that fashion as well.
Correct.
Mayor, we'd have to adjust the fee ordinance to put the range in.
Yes.
In addition to.
Mr. George, you there?
This is a language change for the most part.
We're going to do away with the.
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
So are we going to put this in the range of
Fee schedule.
fee schedule, or is this can it remain as a range within the badge ordinance?
Mayor, members of council, I believe that it's a standalone ordinance because it's governed by Title 40 related to the public trust and access. However, should you wish to, use the belt and suspenders method, you can adopt a range in your annual ordinance and then set that. And the way we've engineered it was the way that council discussed it at the last meeting, which is there is only one meeting generally in November, and you want to have everything ready to go for December 1st for early sales for the holidays. We've laid it out to do that way. Should you want to adjust a range in your general ordinances at reorganization, you can certainly do that, or you can leave it as a standalone under Title 40. I think we actually incorporated it into the ordinance. That's a separate rate setting function, which is allowed to be done by resolution.
So this modification then does not set the range. We're going to set it every year. I'm a little confused as to how we're doing it.
There's no
can-
range in this.
You can set your range every year if you wish, and then make a change. You would have to adopt your beach badge ordinance every November, effective for December, because that's normally when the sales start to take place. You can adjust the range from year to year if you wish, and then set it in November within that range. Or you don't have to set the range for beach badges in your annual fee ordinance. You can set it alone in November because of the way the statute that authorizes fees for beach use is laid out. It is a standalone function, so you don't have to set that range. You can, if you wish, set a range and then adopt it within that range in November.
Okay, so this standalone then just allows us to set it by resolution without, there's no range within this ordinance as you currently have it written.
That's correct. Now, of course, you know, the limitation is also statutory, which is the beach badge fees must reflect the reasonable value of the services provided, which is, you know, been the law since the late 40s. You can't, and the courts have said over and over again, you can't use it as a general revenue. It must be specific. And every year it's been set that way. And that's why there is such a rigorous tracking of fees versus costs that you perform to make sure you stay in that range.
Okay, thank you. So this one is just allowing us to set it by resolution. This is the second reading of the ordinance. Can I have a motion on it unless there's further council
That's
comments?
correct.
I'll
So
move it.
moved.
Oh, this is introduction?
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. This is only the first, I thought we must have discussed it at the last meeting.
Yeah.
I'm getting old.
Then Phil-
I apologize.
Oh, look,
You did, Your Honor. You discussed it at the last meeting and we prepared it for this meeting.
Okay,
To put it on.
then I'll have a motion
So moved.
Second.
and a roll call, please.
Councilman Brown?
Yes.
Councilman Philpo?
Yes.
Councilman Henry?
Yes.
And that motion is approved. The public hearing and final adoption is scheduled for March 8th, 2021. I just have to read my agenda to see that. Okay, ordinance on for public hearing and final adoption is ordinance number 2021-01, which is a refunding bond ordinance, but due to the lack of available council members present in the meeting right now, we can't vote on this, so we are going to carry this until the March 8th meeting. Do I need a motion to approve carrying it?
Mayor, I understand that we could have the public hearing tonight, just carry the vote.
Yeah. Well,
Am I correct?
Yeah, but can I just get,
That's
yes.
correct, Councilwoman Philippone.
Phil?
You can have the hearing, you can carry the vote.
We can have the hearing if we want and carry the vote, or we can carry the whole mess.
Wait, can I just?
Yes, Donnelly
That's
is
correct.
going to ask the question of
Hey,
the
Phil?
council.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
are
ma'am.
are we sure, because the bond ordinance, it requires 2/3 of the vote of the full governing body? Are you sure
Correct.
that Mike Stockdale, because he's being a part of the meeting already, can't vote on it?
No, we have no procedure for that.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I was unable to
Discussed it
locate it
before
in
the
a
meeting
quick
and
check of
Bill's
the
I
bylaws.
know, I
interpretation
did, but
We've had this issue.
Krista was saying that.
But we've
because
had this issue in the past, especially in light of the fact that Council President Salome is away every February. I've been away for March. Bob Lamb has been away while one of us or both of us have been away with important issues as important as this one, and we have never been allowed to vote.
Okay, I mean, I just wanted to clarify.
I think
because
it
since
kept-
because this is different because we're doing virtual already.
Yeah.
I think it's possible to do it, but I think you need,
So we want to have a hearing now
you
then,
would
just in
need to
case
have
we
a
need to have a
procedure in
special
place.
meeting? In
I-
order to,
I have, no, it was on the agenda, so if there are people interested in it, give them the opportunity tonight to speak and just carry the vote.
and this would give us the opportunity to have a special meeting if the
If-
delay
if the funding
impacts
changes.
the
Correct.
economics of doing the refi.
Correct.
So, public hearing on, let me read it again. Ordinance number 2021-01, refunding bond ordinance of the Borough of Lavallette, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, providing for the refunding of all or a portion of the borough's general improvement refunding bonds, Series 2012, appropriating an amount not exceeding $4,100,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $4,100,000 of general improvement refunding bonds of the Borough of Lavallette or financing costs thereof. So in 2012, we cast these bonds. Our bond counsel has now recommended, due to the low interest rates, that it is economically advisable for us to refund these bonds. The number for the savings anticipated, Mr. Bryce, is?
roughly in the area of $175,000.
So this ordinance, if approved, would save us roughly $175,000 over a 10-year period?
For the remainder, which would be until 2035. So correct.
14 years.
Yes.
175,000 over a 14-year period.
It's a 4.2% projected savings.
Okay, comments from council? Okay, comments from the public? Anybody not want us to save 175,000 over the next 14 years? No hands have been raised, therefore we'll close the public portion and carry the vote until March 8th. Again, in case we need an emergency meeting, if we see a sudden spike in interest rates in the next week and we need to lock this in, and we can have a special meeting. Otherwise, we'll carry it until March 8th. All right, unfinished business. Any council member have unfinished business that they would like to discuss?
Nope.
Jim?
Very quickly, Mayor, as I look at this, the refunding date is May 1st of 2021, so we'll probably be okay with that.
Yeah, I would expect we'd be all right to carry
In
until
terms of
then.
old business,
Mhm.
I've been in contact with Dr. Farrell. They're finishing up the plans for our living groin out of the Bayfront. He anticipates that, in the not too distant future, they will have all of the design plans and the permit application ready to submit to the state and the American Literal Society.
Good.
Move forward on that.
Good.
One of the conversations I had with him today, though, was relative to what happened to the outfall pipe at President Avenue. And he assures me that the design team is incorporating those ice flows, and they were going to put those ice breakers, I call them,
Right.
filings at the end, as well as they're toying with the idea of sloping some of the baskets on the north side so
Mhm.
that any wave force would get a little bit deferred and not hit it square on.
Okay. Good. Mr. Borowski was referring to the damage that occurred on the brand-new outfall pipe on the end of President Avenue. The ice flows damaged that. And maybe some of the historic pictures around here show you pictures of the ice flows back in the day when things were really cold, apparently, in the borough, and those stacks of sheeting ice would go 6 or 8 feet tall down there. So they can do a lot of damage. And if you go over the Mathis Bridge, you see on the north side, they have some pilings left over that were actually wooden ramps that would break the ice up. They would flow up those ramps and break before they destroyed the old wooden bridge that was there. So it's an old proven method, and it might work out pretty well. Good. I look forward to seeing the final plans on that, Jim. Thank you. Any other unfinished business? Mrs. Philippone, perhaps? Just a little from me. We did get a letter from a resident with regard to the pickleball courts. They had discussed with a few vendors and obtained some prices for a recommended improvement program down there. The price was $60,000, which seemed reasonable. However, obviously it's over the bonding threshold, and I explained to the citizen the process here. Anything over 17,000 needs to go out to bond. We can't break that project up into a fence company, a paving company, and a painting company in order to avoid that. So I told her that we'll take that suggestion under advisement and perhaps work on getting some prices for a complete project from some of the vendors and see where that one ends up. I told her to anticipate double, which would seem appropriate to me. And when you double that price, then maybe it doesn't look so feasible.
You have to pay prevailing wages.
Yeah, it's, that's the problem with our,
Well, we could put it out to bid, and that group could certainly bid on it.
but it's 3 different vendors. They would have to form,
They could work.
they'd have to form a single entity in order to, legally apply for,
Well, I mean, when a contractor takes on a building job within the borough, he subs out.
he
work.
can, but one bidder submits the
Yeah,
bid.
right.
He can sub it out to anybody he wants, and if they
Right,
want
so
to
they would
form something, they're welcome to do that, but we can't encourage that.
Or one of those three people could just
Correct.
assume it.
Yes, they could, as long as they are legally entitled to bid, as long as they meet the legal requirements of bidding on the project.
I'll share with you an estimate that we procured from another vendor. I have looked at it, two different options, but it's indicative of what you said.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome to New Jersey. All right, that's all the unfinished, yes?
Just a question on that, the 60,000 estimate. Is that just for a re-top surfacing? It's-
It was to take down the fence, to resurface with blacktop, and then paint the proper lines.
It said added 2 inches.
Yeah, added 2 inches onto the top.
Okay, all right. Just- When this came up for discussion way back when, there were prices like $400,000 and $500,000 to do the job. When you think about it, if we can do a job, whatever that might be, I'm not the contractor, so I'm not going to design the job, but even at 50 or 60,000 and it lasts 8 years or 10 years, it's better to do that and redo it every 8 or 10 years than it is to spend $300,000 or $400,000 and do it once to have it last 12 years or 15 years.
Right. The problem comes in when it's really double that number, 120,000.
Well, yes.
It really matters what the number coming in on the bid is.
It may be time for us to find out what we're talking about because we're throwing numbers around and we don't really know. I mean,
Well, we did get a
some-
couple of proposed, not proposals, right? On different
Yes.
methods. So if you want to talk to Mr. Bryce about what we've seen come in already, of course, they're not official bids. They're just some estimates that we got on what these
well,
things
then we
would
have to
cost.
decide exactly what it is that we want done. Do we want the big job that tears the whole thing up?
Well,
starts from
that is
scratch?
really the heart of the question. Do you want to spend $500,000 on
Yeah.
pickleball courts, or do you
No,
want
I
to try to
don't.
keep it to 60,000?
I'd love to keep it to something like 50 or 60,000 because that's workable
Right.
every 5, 10 years, whatever.
I'll share with you the proposals that we secured independent of anything else from a legitimate court builder. He gave 2 options. One was for repair, and one was for complete remilling, putting 4 inches of surface on top, covering it with a latex.
And that was more like the double price.
Correct.
Take a look at those numbers. In my discussion with that citizen, that she's also suggested that the major problem, the safety concern down there is the fact that the last time that we painted it ourselves, there was no traction additive in the paint. So it's the paint itself that makes it slippery. So an acceptable Band-Aid for the near future might be to repaint with a non-skid additive to the paint so that we might be able to get another season out of it before we come to a final decision on major repairs.
Mayor, DPW will be meeting with a contractor shortly about a full price, but I'll have them get a limited price on just paving or painting rather.
With an additive. All right, very good. If there is no further,
Would they do any of the crack filling? And
Yeah, I mean, see, we had one contractor last year that we talked to about the crack filling, and he was very candid in that, you know, his van can be hitting the town limits and it can start cracking again as soon as he, you know, gets out of town. So that's the thing. You're getting it, you're paying for it. It is a much lower price, but you know, the first cold snap or, you know, first extreme heat that you have, it can be damaged. But given that what we have there now, you know, they may be able to do something. There is another method that they use, and this seems to lengthen it a little bit, where they will crack or fill the cracks, then put a material over the top of it, and then that material is like a kind of like a fiber. It goes over the actual crack. So if that crack, the material in there starts to subside, well, the fiber over that is your new surface, so you don't see it.
Yeah.
So it can still be underneath and cracking, but the material on top is not really allowing you to see that crack.
I think it depends who the vendor is. If the guy is pushing that technology. He thinks it's great. I spoke to other vendors who wouldn't suggest it.
No.
So it's
And I think Councilman Lamb talked to a resident who lives in another town, and they did that method on their courts, and it turned out very unsatisfactory. So we still have a lot of debate, but in the meantime, we're going to get some prices on some form of
We'll see what they think.
repair.
I will share with Bob and everyone the quotes that we obtained from the court company.
And I'm sure that correspondence that we received will be on for the next meeting's discussion anyway. It wasn't in the mailboxes yet. It was directed at me.
Mayor, if I could just go on that again.
Yes.
We did have that, again, that is an item that was on last year's capital plan. When an item doesn't get acted upon in that year's capital plan, we typically carry it over to the next year. So we will be putting that in our capital plan.
Mhm.
The thing is, how are we going to pay for it? And that's what, we're working on the budget. On a side note, we hope to have the budget introduced a month from tonight on March 22nd, and then hopefully we'll be able to adopt it on April 19th. But in working on it, we are going to try to find out different ways to go ahead and finance that, whether it's going to be direct funding it for this year as a capital project, or if we do have to go out and bond it.
And Anita is still looking for
Money.
money. You know, we do allow the county to use our tennis courts and the pickleball courts on a regular basis for instruction. Wouldn't be inappropriate to get something from them for that. So we're going to rely upon Anita to be persistent,
She'll be home
which is
soon.
her forte.
There was an article in the paper, Monmouth County. They have Green Acres funding, and one of the towns up there is trying to get Green Acres funding to do just what we're talking about.
Well, we'll see if we can get it and keep working on it. But in the meantime, we're going to get prices on some Band-Aid type repairs. Okay, new business. Jim, any new business you want to discuss? Dave?
Nope.
Joanne?
Nope.
Mr. Bryce?
I do, sir. Some of it is unfinished business, but I'll just lump it all together. President Avenue, you touched upon it, but the contractor was out there last week. I've reached out for the county to see how successful they were about installing those flapper valves. I haven't gotten a reply yet, but I was out there today where we had some flooding in other areas of town today. We did not have flooding at President Avenue, so that's a good sign. Beach badge sales are underway. Again, you can go online and get that order form and send it in. We will have, again, it's pre-order. And then we will be having dates announced in May when we'll be opening up the badge shack down at the Little League field and dispersing those badges. Outside dining, last year we did the resolution to allow outside dining. One of the big things that goes hand in hand with that, though, is the ABC's regulations pertaining to establishments that have liquor licenses. The best I could find is they still have not extended that beyond the end of March. And I'm waiting to find out when the ABC will extend that. If they extend it, then we can clearly include all our liquor license establishments. But for the next meeting, would you like us to go ahead and prepare a resolution, which is what we did last year, a resolution to allow the outside dining to operate on all establishments, liquor and non-liquor licensed establishments, under the quote-unquote emergency provisions like we did last year?
Ms. Philpott?
I'd say yes, but I could be wrong, but I think that our one establishment that has a liquor license got the okay, or had to get the okay directly from the ABC. I don't think that's something.
It's only through the end of, through March.
It expires
but they
this
would-
March.
but-
They don't know they haven't decided what they're doing yet. So we're going to proceed as if in anticipation of them doing what we're doing. We'll just be ahead of the
And the
curve.
people with the liquor license have to pursue it with the
Right.
ABC.
Yes. Yeah, I think we need to do everything that we can to, secure the future for these restaurant establishments here in the town. Jim, any comments?
I agree.
Mike, I'm sorry I'm neglecting you there. Any comments, anything old business or new business? Without you sitting here by me, I just forget you're there.
No, nothing new. I just wanted to say that I agree with, we really need to do anything, we can for those establishments as far as the outdoor dining with the liquor license. I think that's going to be imperative. I hate to say it, but it looks like we're heading down the same road that we did last summer. So I think we really need to do all that we can for them.
All right, Mr. Bryce will prepare that for the next meeting. Thank you. Any other unfinished or new business, Mr. Bryce?
No.
All right. Comments from the public? Any hands raised?
There she is.
Hi, Kathy. Welcome to the meeting. We can't hear you.
You're muted.
You're muted. We cannot hear you.
You, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
All right. I appreciate all the discussions that we're having about the pickleball, and we're really looking forward to, getting back on the courts. And please don't take anything that we ever say as being negative. We love it. It's something that we play with our neighbors and our kids. I myself and several of the other players have been working since the courts were shut down. And I know, DPW can also, vouch for this. We've had at least 4 or 5 contractors come, and we have proposals all the way up from the top of the line, which is ripping the whole thing out, and new fencing, which would cost about $170,000. We have a proposal from Hale, who did the basketball courts, similar, but not quite the total rip out. That's $140,000. We have an estimate for concrete court at $130,000. Then we understand that finances, are a major issue. So trying to work within, the framework that, that we have and the budget restraints. We reached out to one of the contractors who has done the courts in Toms River. And in conjunction with him, one of our players is an executive in Crisdale Corporation, which is a big paving contractor that does all the roads in New Jersey. He's one of our residents and players. He has given a proposal. He is the one that's gone along with the Steve Nicklaus. It's Steve and the paving contractor. Another one of our contractor players is with Carl's Fencing. He is giving a discount on the fencing. So we put all this together. I know it's 3 estimates now, but it can all go under the one contractor. And I think if we can get this, it is worth double what we're getting it for. So, I just hope that we can move forward, and if we have to go back to get bids or out to an engineer to do specs, that we can just take it and run with it now, because we're running out of time. I know it takes a long time to get bids, and then when we lay the asphalt, that takes a month to cure. So
basketball courts were done completely with donations from resident of McGee Avenue. And when it's done that way, we don't have to go out for bids. But when it's a borough paid for project and it costs more than $17,000, we have to go out to bid. There's no alternative to that.
I understand. So, and that's fine, but I'm just hoping, is there something that we can do to start that process? Like, how do you start to go? Like, we have proposals from, the top of the line to doing what Joanne suggested, which is what we agree with. We can.
We'll submit your proposal to the engineer to take a look at it. The first step would be for the engineer to create specs on what it is the borough is looking for. And then we would send those specs out for the bid. And then we would have to review the bids and pick a contractor or choose not to if it was too expensive. In the meantime, Mr. Bryce has some other people coming down to look at some other options. So the proposal that I got will go to the engineer to take a look at.
Okay, thank you. Do you need to have a motion or something official that says that can get started?
No, we can have the engineer take a look at that, and he will then give us a proposal for his engineering costs to oversee this and, you know,
Legal costs too.
and the legal costs. And then once that's approved, then it will go back to the engineer for actually drafting the specs and publishing them. So it
Okay,
is
I
a process,
appreciate-
but we wish it could work as quickly as it does for private citizens, but it just doesn't work that way in public contracting.
I understand. I appreciate, I know the situation that we're all in, and that's why we're reaching out to try to put some of the numbers together.
We
So,
appreciate the
yeah.
help. And Mr. Bryce will be working this week with other people to take a look at a Band-Aid method for now.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Any
you
other
all.
hands?
Appreciate it.
Mr. Cox,
Yes,
you're up.
I'm up. I have a couple of things.
Your
One,
address, please, Mr. Cox.
108 Bond Avenue.
Thank you.
I had brought this to the attention, I guess, of the borough administrator back in 2015, 2016. After Sandy, and when they were doing the side streets, putting storm drains in and numerous side streets, they were going through the asphalt subbase. They were just cutting out sections like every 10 or 15 feet, leaving the subbase in, and they were coming back and patching. And I've seen them do that on numerous streets in town. I took a ride the other day, and the pavements are starting to crack over these areas. And I would suggest that the Public Works or the town engineer look at this for asphaltic crack filling. Otherwise, over time, you're going to get water in there, and all this money you're getting from state aid and you're paying out. All these new roads that have been repaved and have been paved by the contractor after Sandy are all going to start breaking up again. I've noticed it on Bond Avenue near the intersection of 35 North, where the patches have been done. I know the water companies have come back and the gas companies come back. And this over time is going to be a problem for the town, because a lot of the money that you spent is just going to be thrown out, and you're going to be resurfacing these streets again. And I think crack filling would solve that problem. Before I moved here full time, our development, our development was responsible for the roads, and we did that, and it can make the roads last a lot longer. So that's one suggestion I have.
We'll forward that down to DPW to have them take a look at it.
Yeah, take a look at that, because like on Bond Avenue, there's a couple of places that are opening up. And this was due to the fact that the state wasn't reimbursing to do a full depth pavement. On the other thing,
On the new roads, Mr. Cox, anything that's been paved within the last 5 years, there's a whole separate requirement for a hot patch to go in there. Are we?
yeah, no, I understand that. I understand it. But I've noticed the streets that they put new drainage in, where they just dug across the subbase and then patched the subbase and then topped over it again. It's starting to open up. I've also been listening to this thing on the pickleboard court, and they were talking about a membrane. That membrane is what you call a reflective crack membrane, and that's usually put on top of a concrete slab. We did a lot of that in New York City with roadways there, because most of their roadways are concrete, and they put it over the construction joints in the concrete so the crack doesn't reflect up through the asphalt. What I would suggest when you have your engineer looking at the pickleboard courts, if you're getting movement out there in the asphalt and cracks, it sounds to me it's a poor foundation. And you can throw a lot of Band-Aids on that, but if you have a bad foundation, it's going to be a problem for you. That's just my opinion through many years of experience doing this kind of work. So that's the two things, sort of Public Works related. The other thing is, we went out to dinner this past weekend. First time we've been out to dinner since last February, to a local restaurant. I'm not going to mention any names. We also looked into another restaurant. I would suggest that the restaurants are not keeping to 35% capacity. The particular restaurant I was in, I counted empty seats and I counted full seats, and it was a full 60 to 70% occupied. I know Councilwoman Philippone is keeping very careful track of the number of cases, wondering where they're coming from. I don't know, but we've gone to this particular restaurant in 2019, 2018, 2017. It's a couple of big restaurants in town. and they're virtually empty on the weekend. Now with the new changeover with people moving down here full time and everything, it's becoming a big problem. So,
Well,
you know,
we'll notify the governor's office, and if they choose to send somebody down to do that kind of enforcement, we'll be happy to have them help
yeah,
us
I mean,
out with it.
I certainly am not business unfriendly, but if, you know, if the state
Our
sets it,
police department will not be policing that matter.
oh, I understand that, but you know, 35% and they go to 75%, I don't know. It's a bit of a stretch.
We'll let the governor's office know.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. That's all I have.
Any other hands? Okay, council comments.
You know what it is too about some of these restaurants? They take out the tables, just leave
Right,
a certain amount in, so it looks like it's.
right. It looks like it's full, looks like it's 100%, but they've already taken out half of the table. So, yeah, I understand.
It's not full.
I agree. Jim? Mrs. Philippone? Mr. Bryce? All right, we're working on the budget. We hope to have real good news. You know, my business is real estate here in town, and I got to tell you that the prices of real estate in the borough of Lavallette are out of control. So if you're a homeowner here, you should be happy that the value of your property is skyrocketing. People anxious to be here, much more so than in Ortley and Normandy, and I think it's directly related to our tax rate here. So I'm looking forward to another good budget year this year. And I know that Chris is doing a good job on it, and hopefully we'll be ready. All right, next meeting is the 8th of March at 7 p.m. So a motion to adjourn is appropriate. All in favor? Thank you.
Good night, everyone. It was good to see you.